Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Rajajanarantana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai aur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We are reading from the Transcendental Diary by His Grace Sacisuta Prabhu. Travels with His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. September 17, 1976. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namne Namaste Saraswati Gauradesh Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Satarine. So if you are allowed to keep yourself constantly in company with Krishna, then just imagine what is your position. If you keep yourself always near the fire, certainly you shall remain warm. There will be no attack of cold or anything like that. If we constantly chant Hare Krishna mantra, then we are not in this material world. But if we purposefully again come to the material world, that independence we have got. He explained that chanting a certain fixed number of rounds each day is one of the rules governing success. He said that Haridas Thakur chanted 3 lakhs of names per day. But Rupa Goswami chanted less because he was writing books, although he still did a fixed number of rounds. Similarly, we must have some numerical strength, and we have minimized. I know that you are coming from a different source according to time, according to circumstances. Even then, there is no limit. You can chant more than 1600 times. But practically, we see that even chanting 16 rounds becomes difficult. So don't try to imitate, but do it properly, what is advised by your spiritual master, without any offense. That mantra will save you from the dangers of Maya. That's a fact. Prabhupada pointed out that because Asatthama knew the science of mantra, he did not have to manufacture his nuclear weapon in a laboratory by experimenting with various chemicals as modern scientists do. He simply touched water and chanted with full concentration. Again, comparing this with the potency of the Mahamantra, he said, if we take it as childish play, formality, then it will act, but it will take long time. But if you do it properly, you will be quickly successful. In one life, you will be successful. You don't require to wait. My Guru Maharaj used to say that although this process is guaranteed, but don't wait for another life. Finish this business in this life. So Srila Prabhupada here is focusing on chanting a fixed number of rounds. And he gave us 16 rounds for those who are initiated. And at initiation, one takes a vow. So a gentleman, it is said, a gentleman keeps his promise. So if once we take a vow in front of the spiritual master, in front of the deities, and in front of the fire yagya, then we complete that vow. And in business it is said, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So if you don't measure something like number, then you cannot improve also. That's why we also count books, because then we can increase, right? We say that this month I did 5 books, now next month I do 6 books. So we can count. But unless you count, you cannot increase. So, and chanting also, the acharyas, they showed us by example that you chant by counting. Everyone, they counted in the beads. So you chant a fixed number of rounds, minimum. And if you have time, you chant now. So, anyone would like to add? And Prabhupada also mentions about Asatthama, so Asatthama is the son of Dronacharya in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know if you have read how Asatthama he throws the Brahmastra weapon to kill Parikshit Maharaj in the womb of Uttara, and Krishna comes and saves him. And before that also Asatthama, he comes and he kills the sons of the Pandavas very mercilessly. He brings the head to Duryodhana, and even Duryodhana is he's also so disappointed with Asatthama, because normally Kshatriyas are not supposed to kill like that. You're not supposed to kill someone who is not armed. You're not supposed to kill someone who has surrendered. You're not supposed to kill someone, a child, And then Arjun all the Pandavas are so grief-stricken. They're so aggrieved. And then Arjun is so angry. And then he promises to Draupadi that I will bring you the head of Asatthama and stepping on that head, you can something like I'll drink his blood or something, very like a Kshatriya spirit. And then he brings Asatthama, and immediately after seeing Asatthama, and Draupadi she's full of compassion. She says, "Don't kill him." And Arjun gets two opinions. One party is saying, "Kill him." For example, Bhishma is saying, "Kill him," and Krishna is also telling, "Kill him," and Draupadi is saying, "Don't kill him." And then Arjun, he just cuts his hair and takes out the money, which is as good as killing. So he does both. So very nice pastime of Asatthama and Arjun. So that used to be Kshatriyas in the previous days. Like Pandavas and the Kauravas, they would fight during the battlefield, and in the evening they would go to each other's tents and then just have dinner together. And the next morning, and then they would also talk, and tomorrow I'll kill you in the battlefield. So the next day they would also start fighting. So this is Kshatriya code. It's not like nowadays you go to there is a person sitting behind a screen and then flies a drone and then drops something to kill some innocents. This is not Kshatriya, this is cowardness. Kshatriyas, they are the person who gives the chief, he rides in the front of the battlefield. He is not like hiding in the behind. And there are so many nice Kshatriyas example we have in the Shastras. Okay, any comments or questions? Srila Prabhupada gave example of few Kshatriyas, like the Singh, the one, I don't know how I forgot the Singh, and then he also said Gurkhas are very good Kshatriyas. Gurkhas are originally from Nepal. He said they're very good Kshatriyas. So they are very thank you. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Darshanam Bhagavatam Nam Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jandirayat Nasta Praisha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhakti Naistiki Mukam Karati Vacharam Pampam Langaitri Yat Kripa Tamam Vande Shri Guru Dimatarinam Brahmananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Reading from Canto 7, Chapter 2, Text 36. Please repeat. Tatraha preta bandhunam Asrutya paridevitam Ahatan balako Bhutva Yama Swayam Upagataha Tatraha Preta Bandhunam Asrutya vitam
Asrutya paridevitam
ahatan balakubhutva
Ahadam balakam bhutva
yama swayam upagataha
Yamasvayam upagatam
tatraha preta bandhunam
Tatraha
asrutya paridevitam
Asrutya paridevitam
ahatan balakubhutva
Ahadam balakam bhutva
yama swayam upagataha
Yamasvayam upagatam
Tatraha Pritabandhunam
Tatraha pritabandhunam
Asrutya Paridevitam
Asrutya paridevitam
Ahatam Balakudva
Ahadam balakam bhutva
Yama Swayam Upagata
Yamasvayam upagatam Tatraha pritabandhunam
Tatraha Pritabandhunam
Asrutya paridevitam
Asrutya Paridevitam
Ahadam balakam bhutva
Ahatam Balakudva
Yamasvayam upagatam
Yama Swayam Upagata. Push yourself physically.
Tatraha pritabandhunam Asrutya paridevitam Ahadam balakam bhutva Yamasvayam upagatam Tatraha pritabandhunam Asrutya paridevitam Ahadam balakam bhutva Yamasvayam upagatam
word for word. Tatra,
Tatra,
there,
there,
ha,
ha,
certainly,
certainly,
preta bandhunam,
Pritabandhunam,
of the friends and relatives of the dead king,
of the friends and relatives of the dead king,
asrutya,
Asrutya,
hearing,
hearing,
paridevitam,
paridevitam
the loud lamentation,
lamentation
so loud that it could be heard from the planet of Yamaraj.
so loud that I could hear it from the planet of Yamaraj.
Aha,
Aha
says,
said
tan, unto them,
unto them
the lamenting queens,
lamenting queens
balaka,
Balaka
a boy,
a boy
putra,
Buddha
becoming,
becoming
Yama,
Yama
Yamaraj,
Yamaraj
the superintendent of death,
the superintendent of death
Swayam,
Swayam
personally,
personally
upagataha,
Upagataha
after coming.
After coming.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. While the queens were lamenting for the dead body of the king, the loud cries were heard even from the abode of Yamaraj. Assuming the body of a boy, Yamaraj personally approached the relatives of the dead body and advised them as follows. Purport. Sometimes the living entity is forced to give up this body and enter another one according to the judgment of Yamaraj. It is difficult, however, for the conditioned soul to enter another body unless the present dead body is annihilated through cremation or some other means. The living being has attachment for the present body and does not want to enter another, and thus, in the interim, he remains a ghost. If a living being who has already left his body has been pious, Yamaraj, just to give him relief, will give him another body. Since the living being in the body of the king had some attachment to his body, he was hovering as a ghost, and therefore Yamaraj, as a special consideration, approached the lamenting relatives to instruct them personally. Yamaraj approached them as a child, because a child is not restricted but is granted admittance anywhere, even in the palace of a king. Beside this, the child was speaking philosophy. People are very much interested in hearing philosophy when it is spoken by a child. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Yanjana Salakaya Chakshurunritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vichaitanyamanodistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Ramayam Tadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamani Hari Guru Vanchakalpataruvyasta Kripa Sindhurevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hiranyakashipu is speaking here. He is trying to pacify his mother because Hiranyaksha is dead, and he is narrating a story of King Suyagya in Ushinara. So he is giving the philosophy through story. Normally people like to hear stories. People like watching movies, because there is a nice drama in the movie, there is a nice story. So that's why the Shastras are also doing the same thing. They give philosophy through stories. For example, Srila Prabhupada would say, Krishna had enacted the whole thing of Mahabharata. Krishna directed everything in Mahabharata just to give Bhagavad Gita. So the whole point of Mahabharata was to come to this point where Krishna could speak the Gita. And then people hear the Mahabharata, so many things happening in Mahabharata. It's very interesting. Anyone read all Mahabharata? It's like watching a movie, but more than that. It's a real movie, right? So many things happening, and this and that, and people are. I remember my mother used to say, when she was small, they would give Mahabharata on the TV. On the TV, the Mahabharata from India, they were like some 50 years ago, I don't know how much, and they would give on the TV, and it would be just once a week. On Saturdays, 1 hour, and the whole village would come to a place. There would not be many TVs in the village, so my mother's house had one TV, so whole village would come, and then they would watch Mahabharata for 1 hour. Everyone would finish their work before, it would be from 8 to 9, and everyone would finish their work, and they would come and watch Mahabharata for 1 hour in a week. So people like stories, and from this story, and there is philosophy peppered in the story. Philosophy here and there. Because if you just give philosophy, people will sleep. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, if you just give very heavy philosophy, then the audience will just sleep. But if you give very nice story of this happened, this one killed, this had 2 wives and this, then people will be attracted, and then in between there is some philosophy. So the same thing with Puranas also. So many stories. So here he is also Hiranyakashipu is also telling a story, and in the story by telling a story he's trying to give advice. So if you also want to advise someone, you can give a story, you can give example. It's a good, nice way people can accept stories. So Srila Prabhupada writes here that sometimes a living entity is forced to give up his body, and if the living entity does not get another body, they are hovering around as in the subtle body. And this is very painful actually, to not get a body, because the living entity naturally wants to enjoy, and when it does not have a physical body, then it's very troublesome. That is why the ghosts, the subtle, those who are just in subtle body, they are very much in distress condition, and that's why they create disturbance. So I don't know how much you have seen ghosts or how much you believe in ghosts, but it's not like something very spiritual or whatever. It's just living jivas who do not have a physical body. When Srila Prabhupada was after Radha Damodar, before going to the West, he was writing Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And then he was trying to find a place where he could write Srimad Bhagavatam properly. And I think there was a temple, I forgot the name of the temple. The rent was quite cheap. In Radha Damodar temple where Srila Prabhupada stayed and he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, the rent was cheap. But after that he went somewhere, or before that. But in this temple nobody would live there because there were so many ghosts. Srila Prabhupada said, this is perfect for my, because nobody will come disturb me. So he went there and he was writing, and when he was writing, the ghosts would come and disturb him. And he was, at one point he just, I think that it's there in his biography movie Abhay Charan. At one point he just said to the ghost, okay, just sit down here and hear from me. Just sit down and hear from me, don't disturb me too much. And then they heard, and then they actually get liberated just by hearing Prabhupada. So there are subtle bodies like this who are just hovering around, but just by chanting, if you are chanting the Maha Mantra, they cannot stay around. They actually also get benefited if when there is recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, even the subtle bodies who are hovering, they get benefited. And when one is in this body, if one is too attached to the body, it's also difficult for them to leave, right? So someone who is too engrossed in sense gratification, when they leave the body, it also then becomes difficult to get another body. So that is why in the Vedic culture they burn bodies also, because then the soul is not attached anymore. So also there is cremation, because it's considered very inauspicious to keep the body there for long, normally, according to the culture in the East. As soon as it's done as fast as possible, the cremation is done as fast as possible, because it's not very auspicious for the soul to be attached to the body. So burn the bodies as fast as possible. Right, so living entity has attachment, and naturally one is attached to the body. But the varnashram system is designed so that slowly you get more detached. you marry, first of all you get some training, training as a brahmachari, and then you get married, sorry, and then you are not supposed to always enjoy for the rest of your life, and at some point you get retired, and that slowly prepares you for death. Retirement life is meant to prepare you for death. One is not supposed to just, remain enjoying all the opulences throughout the life. One should prepare for death. It's very important. So one personal life is meant to prepare for death. That's why, so Vedic culture has this system, and that's why you don't, at the time of death, you are not so attached to your body, your surroundings. Then you can live peacefully. Otherwise, very difficult. Nowadays, it's very difficult for people to leave their body, and then they want to extend the little bit of time they have, doing so many things. But at the end, they're not very conscious. Also, there's so much drugs in the body, and they cannot leave the body properly. Actually, I have. There's one interview of one. How do they call them? They call them chaplain, I think. No, I mean chaplain is like the one like they help people leave their body. No, not chaplain. They call them something else. But his job is he works in hospital, one devotee, and his job is to, I don't know, they call him death. Anyway, so in hospitals they have these people who their sole job is to go to people who are dying and help them die. I can research later what they're called. And there is one devotee in New York, and he was sharing that so many times he would go to the patients, and then the patients would be so afraid, and they would constantly tell him that there are people in this room, very, very horrifying people here in this room. Please help me. So they were the Yamadutas. So and then he would talk to other doctors in the hospital, and the doctors would say, "Yeah, this has always been happening. The patients keep reporting that there are people visiting them, to take them." So these are the Yaman. Normally it is said, and then they report of seeing dogs. Dogs, because normally before one leaves the body, the Yamadutas, they come with dogs actually. It's explained in the Bhagavatam that the dogs are actually biting when they leave the body, and so Yamadutas, they come with dogs, and people report of seeing dogs, and the Yamadutas before they leave the body. So many such examples of people seeing Yamadutas coming. So this is not just fantasy, mythology, right? So, and I used to hear my grandfather tell stories of ghosts. When I was a child, he had so many ghost stories. I don't know if he told me just to as a story or if it was factual, but I heard. My mother tell me that her father would see these ghosts and things like that. Yeah. But they are just subtle bodies. People who have the jivas who are just around. Actually, even in London, in John Lennon's state, when the devotees went there, they complained that there was always someone in the upper floor, just dragging with chains, and it was like ghostly being disturbing. And Prabhupada just told the devotees, go and chant there. And then they went and then they chanted, blew the conch, got some dhoop, mahadhoop. And then the owners reported that from that day they didn't hear anything. Nobody disturbed them. So by chanting all the inauspicious things, everything, they go away. Right, so here it is said, the king had some attachment to the body, so he was hovering as a ghost, and therefore Yamaraj, as a special consideration, approached the lamenting relatives to struck them personally. I heard that it is also said if one commits suicide, then you also don't get the gross body immediately. It's like a punishment because you committed a crime. Because this body does not belong to you, so you cannot destroy it. It was not created by you, so that's why you also cannot destroy it. So if someone commits suicide, then they also don't get a subtle gross body. So they also only have the body of a ghost. So it's also very painful. So one can always pray for those who have left our. If one has some relatives or friends, we can always pray, and it works. The prayer is working. So they can, one can pray that they get some nice destination, something nice. Actually, in our culture in Nepal, immediately after one leaves the body, if someone leaves the body, the relatives, they gather and they read Garud Puran. They read Garud Puran. Yeah, Garud Puran. Because they have this belief that the soul is around for a few days, and if they read something, the soul will benefit. So they read Garud Puran immediately after someone dies, in the funeral ceremony. So Yamaraj approached them as a child because the child is not restricted but is granted admittance anywhere, even to the palace of a king. So child has special consideration. We can see this example in when Vamandev also came. He came as a child, dwarf child. He was a child, also a dwarf. Small, so everyone is attracted to a child. And the four Kumaras, they were also children. And they were like going anywhere, everywhere, nobody would stop them. And somebody stopped them in Vaikuntha and they were like, how can you stop us? We are children. So children, they can go anywhere. People don't take them very seriously. And who else? And Krishna was also, Prabhupada writes here, the child was speaking philosophy. People are interested in hearing philosophy when being spoken by a child. When the Brajavasis, when they were worshipping when they were worshipping Indra, then Krishna as a very small child, he comes and he says, don't worship Indra, worship Govardhan. And then he starts speaking philosophy to Nanda Maharaj. He said, and everybody is listening to Krishna speaking philosophy, and Indra is so angry. How can they listen to this kid and stop worshipping me? So people are attracted by children speaking philosophy. So, and all the residents of Vrindavan, they were so attracted to Krishna speaking. Although Prabhupada writes that he was speaking the wrong philosophy. He was speaking a philosophy called Karma Mimamsa. He's saying that you don't have to worship the demigods. Whatever is meant for you will come to you. So in the Krishna book, Prabhupada writes this. He was speaking the Karma Mimamsa philosophy just to convince the Brajavasis that you should worship Govardhan. Not worship Indra, but worship Govardhan. And everyone followed him. Everyone followed him, and then Indra got angry, and then Indra started this rain, and then that's why Krishna was able to lift Govardhan, the famous pastime of Krishna lifting the Govardhan. So this is Krishna speaking philosophy. And even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes he would speak the philosophy. He would go and he would eat dirt, like dirt from the garden. And then his mother would ask him, why are you eating dirt? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say, this is dirt, and from here, fruits are coming. We eat fruits, why can't we eat dirt? So, and then his mother would have to explain the small Mayavadi, the difference. So, and the Lord also has, when they're small, they also speak philosophy, and everyone is attracted. Prabhupada, he was once talking to someone. I think he was quite a professor, and then he was saying, everything is the same. Everything is same. Everything is one. And Prabhupada asked him, what is the difference between a cotton ball, we have cotton ball, and a cotton shirt? He was trying to saying that everything is not the same. There is he was asking the professor, what is the difference between a cotton ball and a cotton shirt? And then this professor was saying, it's the same. And Prabhupada asked him, what is the difference between a cotton ball and a cotton shirt? And again this professor, it's the same. Prabhupada grabbed him and then he shook him. He said, what is the difference between a cotton ball and a cotton shirt? And then the man got it. Oh yeah, there is a difference. Yes. And then Prabhupada leaned back and said, same like nothing is one, there is a difference. Paramatma and Jiva, there is difference. It's same, like cotton, but there is difference. Quality is the same, but it's again same but different. Achinta Veda, Veda Tattva. Right? And then the devotees were quite amazed to see Srila Prabhupada do this to a professor, And then after that he said, a child and an old man can do anything and say anything, but you cannot imitate. So that's a nice pastime. I heard that Prabhupada was saying, a child can say anything, an old man can say anything. Meaning that people don't take them very seriously and they are attracted. Yeah, that's the purport. Anything anyone would like to share? Or comment or question?
Thank you about ghosts. Like, in New Zealand there was one, we had a New Year's festival, and there were some brahmacharis staying in the Scouts Hall. It was like on a distant land, distant from the festival place, like some kilometers, and it was just a hut, and they would just all sleep on the floor. But after one night, some brahmacharis they explained that at one point at night, most of the brahmacharis were, not all of them, but some of them were screaming in like in different compartments, and even some in the tent who couldn't, like outside of the hall in the tent, apart from the hall, they could not hear the brahmacharis in the hut,
Mm.
but they would also scream. And then all of them would report the same, that they had like some ghostly stuff going on in their dreams, and everything got shadowy and this kind of stuff. This was the first time. And I was like, oh wow. It's not just some bogus. And yeah, and some of them started chanting when they realized they got something with ghosts, and then the ghosts went away.
Mm.
Yeah, this was nice. And I also have a question. Like when I also heard this when you commit suicide, that you that you're getting only a gross subtle body but not a gross, and is there anything said about like how long or how it is for devotees, or if you have a pious background or something?
I'm not sure exactly. I heard my devotees say that there are also ghosts who are somewhat pious, and they tend to go around where there are devotees, and they want to listen to Bhagavatam also, some ghosts. Somebody told me they are called Brahma Bhuta. Bhutas are ghosts, and Brahma Bhuta is like they are pious because they have subtle body, and then like for example, let's say there is some devotee, and then for some reason they commit suicide, but they at least know they're attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam, and then they can come to a Srimad Bhagavatam class and listen. I don't know, I mean, at least it said, as long as your body is supposed to be there, you get the body of the ghost. Like how long your body was destined, until then you get the body of the ghost. So for example, if someone is destined to have the body for 30 years and then they terminate the body at 20, then for the 10 years they get the body of a ghost. Something like that. I heard. I've not read it in Prabhupada's books, but I heard. So I don't know how much, but that's something I heard. But there are subtle bodies everywhere. It's like even here, it's just we can't see it, but subtle bodies are just around in just many places. Just by chanting also they get benefited. So it's always auspicious to chant. Anything else? Okay, there is nothing else. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai.
Sacisuta Prabhu ki